Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be doing my August wrap-up. So this wasn't my best month of reading, it was actually one of my worst, but I still read some really great books in it, so let's get right into it.
In the month of August, I read 3,152 pages across 8 books. All 8 of those books were fantasies, 7 were YA, and 1 was adult. I gave 1 book 2.5 stars, 1 book 3 stars, 3 books 4 stars, and 3 books 5 stars, which gives an average rating of 4.06 for the month.
The first book I read this month was The Near Witch by V.E. Schwab, so I am now officially finished every single V.E. Schwab book that is currently out. I really enjoyed it. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. This follows a girl called Lexi. Lexi lives in a town called Near, and when a stranger appears in this community, they are automatically kind of on edge. But then the next day when children start to go missing, suspicion immediately falls on this new stranger. But Lexi believes something more sinister and something from childhood stories could be what is at fault here. So I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this. It is very quick and fast-paced. I find that with pretty much all of V.E. Schwab's books, you get sucked in. I did find like the town and the world really interesting, and I did really like the magic, and I wish we had more of it. And I also enjoyed the characters. I do feel that they are a bit basic though, but again, it is her first novel. I would totally recommend you give it a go, but kind of go in with lower expectations, especially if you love and adore V.E. Schwab's books. Definitely read it, but just keep your expectations low. The characters, they did feel a bit basic and like characters we've seen time and time again, but they were still good characters. And I wish we kind of had more of the side characters. My other kind of complaint about it is that Lexi was very trusting of this stranger immediately. And I know that like her father taught her to be like accepting of people, but even so, if children started going missing the day after a stranger comes to town, I would kind of be like, it's gotta be him, right? But Lexi only thinks that for about like 2 seconds and she's like, probably not. I would definitely recommend, especially if you are a V.E. Schwab fan. It's not perfect by any means, but keep your expectations low and you should enjoy it. So book number 2 that I read this month was Tales from Earthsea by Ursula K. LeGuin. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5 stars. I just kind of didn't really care for this. This is a collection of 5 short stories from the Earthsea world. The first one is about how the school is founded. The second one follows Ged's original mentor and how he became who he was. The third one was a story of young love and magic and trying to choose your path, and that was my favorite one. And there was also one about a young girl who wants to go and learn magic on Roke, which is an always magic school. And there was something else, but I can't remember. And then there was also kind of a glossary in the back that told you just little snippets of history and all of that. What I liked was, I liked the writing style, and the one that I enjoyed the most was Dark Rose and Diamond, which is the one about kind of love and trying to choose between magic and love and music, and I quite enjoyed it. This is definitely a good addition for huge fans of it to learn about the history of Roke and to learn about more about the magic and all of that. But I personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the series. The only one I really liked was Tahanu. So it just didn't really connect with me because I don't care that much about the world. So it definitely, if you are a fan of this series, I would definitely recommend it for you because you will probably love it, and especially like the glossary at the back that tells you stories of the world and tells you about the history and tells you a bit about each island and stuff like that. I didn't really like this because, to be honest, most of the stories and the characters in them were quite forgettable to me. I kind of just don't remember them. And I just wasn't interested in the story, again, because I only really liked Tahanu. I was a bit disappointed because of the fact I had liked Tahanu. I was like, these last 3 books that I'm gonna like these, but I didn't like this one, which was a bit disappointing, but I have faith that the 6th and final book in the Earthsea cycle will be one that I really enjoy, so hopefully. Then the next 2 books that I read were rereads for me, and those were Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, which is a duology by Leigh Bardugo. So I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. This follows 6 young misfits led by Kaz Brecker, who have been offered an unimaginable amount of money, but to claim their prize they have to perform an impossible heist to the Ice Core, an unbreachable military stronghold. So their mission is basically to retrieve a hostage who is causing chaos in the Grisha world, and also survive long enough to spend their money. I love this story. It is one of my favorites. I do think it does have an interesting plot and all, but the huge selling point of this story is definitely the characters. It really is an analysis of these characters and their traumas and their relationships, their backstories, etc. It is a lot more understandable after reading the Grisha trilogy this time, because when I first read it, I hadn't read the original Grisha trilogy, which you can totally do because I understood it perfectly fine and I did love it the first time anyway. But, you know, kind of the references and stuff, I was like, oh, yeah. It's a bit dark and it's funny and I just really love it. It's a lot of fun and these characters are so wonderful. But I think I preferred it a little more the first time. I don't think I loved it as much this time. And I think the biggest complaint with it is that it's unrealistic, which, I mean, it is a fantasy story, so of course it is. But yeah, like, you just have to suspend your disbelief, and if you can do that, you will enjoy it. I still love this and I don't think I ever will not love it, but I did think it was better the first time I read it. Book number 4 was Crooked Kingdom. Also, I have a vlog just dedicated to rereading those if you want like spoilery thoughts. It's basically me just squealing the entire time, so if you want that, it's there. So this was also a 5 out of 5 star book. So this follows the direct aftermath of Six of Crows. So the crew has done absolutely incredible things and now they are on a mission of revenge. This book, it does have all of the same strengths, I think, that the first one does, with even more development on these characters that we have grown to love in the first book. I definitely prefer this one over the first book, which again, I think might be an unpopular opinion, but I really love it and it's really fast paced. Again, the problems are the same as the first one. It is a bit unbelievable and you have to suspend your disbelief, but if you can do that, you will love it, hopefully. One thing that I said a load of times in my vlog where I reread these is the first time I read it, I had 3 clear favourites: Kaz, Inej and Wylan. And I was like, these are the 3 best characters. And I was like, I liked Nina, Matthias and Jesper, but I just didn't love them. And then when I reread it, I absolutely appreciated their character way more this time. And I'm glad I did because they are such wonderful characters. And yeah, so now I would say it's actually pretty even. I will say Wylan is my favorite character. He is number 1 for me, but the rest are actually kind of all tied. So that's good. The book number 5 that I read this month was Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim. Another absolutely beautiful cover. So this is the sequel to Spin the Dawn. So Spin the Dawn follows a young gifted tailor called Maya, who accepts the invitation to compete for the position of Imperial Tailor. The problem with that being that only men are supposed to be the Imperial Tailor. So in this sequel, we follow Maya after she has done incredible and impossible things and returns to a kingdom on the brink of war. This is a really quick, fast-paced read, and I think this series would be a great one for younger readers who are trying to get into YA, because of the fact it is not too complex and it is quite quick and the writing is quite easy to read. It developed some kind of friendships that we didn't really have in the first book, and I love a good female friendship, or I just love friendships in general in books, so I was really happy to see that. And I actually really enjoyed the romance in these books, which I was quite surprised by because I didn't think I cared that much, but then all of a sudden I was just so happy with them. So yeah, and this book, it contains some really badass ladies in it. So my complaints with this one though is I actually think this duology could have been a trilogy because there was a lot going on in here, and I think she could have developed these plots a lot more and made it into a trilogy. but then I suppose it wouldn't have been as fast paced as it was. So it really kind of depends on what you prefer more of. So I really think it could have been more developed plot wise and magic system wise, but I did still enjoy it. I just think the author was a bit ambitious trying to put so much into such a short book, but still a really solid read if you do want to read it. Then book number 6 that I read was Come Tumbling Down by Seanan McGuire. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. So this is the 5th installment in the Wayward Children series. This follows Jack as she once again returns from the moors to Eleanor's West School. Something terrible has happened and she gathers some old friends to help her. One of the things with these books is that you can kind of read almost any of them as an entry point, but this one is definitely, you can't. You have to, I think, read book 1 and 2 to really enjoy this one. This is my favorite since Down Among the Sticks and Bones. I think I might have preferred that one a little bit more. I'm not sure. But I just really love Jack as a character. She's my favorite, and so the books that have her have been my favorite ones. I just love all of the characters from like the original book, the very first one. Those characters are the ones I like the most, but Jack is definitely my favorite. And yeah, once again, another extremely atmospheric whimsical story. The moors is like so creepy and dark, but it's still like really interesting. And overall it was just a quick and fun read and I really enjoyed it. But my problems with this book is it features a trope that I hate, which is like the resurrection trope. I won't say anything more because then I would spoil you, but I didn't really mind too much because of who it involved, but it did make the stakes feel quite a bit lower. Book number 7 that I read this month was The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. This was a 5 out of 5 stars for me. I love this so much. It is so good. So Vasya can see spirits which she honors and befriends, but when her father goes to Moscow to bring home a new wife, this fiercely devout woman who can also see these spirits bans people from like honoring these protective guardians. But without these household spirits, an evil begins to grow and it is up to Vasya to try and save her people. This is a beautifully written story. It is so atmospheric and whimsical. I adored all of the characters, and even the characters that you're supposed to hate I found so interesting, and I was been able to like see some sympathy for them. So Vasya, our main character, she is very kind and enthusiastic and she grows a lot through the book, and the sibling relationships in here are just so beautiful and I love them, and there were just so many adorable moments that like really, you know, pulled at the heartstrings. The magic, we haven't really seen a lot of it, but I found it very intriguing. The author, she just did not pull her punches. There was some sweet moments, there were some sad moments, and there were some moments where I was laughing, and it was just so good. I didn't really have too many problems with this. I do wish that we had seen a small bit more of the magic, but this is a trilogy, so I'm sure it's going to be developed in the next book, which I would like to say that you could probably actually get away with reading this as a standalone. If you're not interested in starting a series, you could get away with reading it as a standalone. My other complaint in here is I was kind of confused by what the priest's motivations were, because I don't think it was extremely clear. I think it kind of was just his own selfishness and his own pride, I think, were kind of it, but I'm not 100% sure, and maybe we'll see him in other books. Something that I've seen other people complain about, I didn't actually find a problem in this, but it's the Vasya is not like other girls kind of a trope, which I guess I can kind of see it. Like, she definitely is not like other girls, but I don't mind the way that it was done, because it's the same in the Near Witch. Both of these kind of have it. I don't like the trope if the girls who are not like other girls put down girls who have girly interests and want to like do the norm, but I don't think these two books have it, because that's what really annoys me, is like girl hate and stuff. So I don't mind if a girl in a book is like, I don't want to be like them, I want to, you know, run wild and go on horses and stuff. But if they're like, I can't believe she is staying at home learning to sew. Like, that's when I don't like it, because don't put other people down just because they like something you don't. Then book number 8 that I read this month is Godsgrave by Jay Kristoff. This is the sequel to Nevernight. It is August 31st and I have not finished it yet, but I think I will finish it and I will include my thoughts. But this follows Mia Corveri. In the first book, we follow her as she joins the most famous assassin school in the land, because her father, her mother, and her brother were killed when she was younger because her father tried to start a rebellion. And she escaped, and she has spent her whole life searching for revenge. And then this one is just a continuation. I will hopefully finish it today, and I will insert a clip of me discussing. Hello, it's future Rebecca. So I did indeed finish Godsgrave before the end of the month. So I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. So not a new favorite or anything. Once again, incredible world building in these. Such a like an atmospheric and detailed description of this world. Like, it is so impressive. But I'm not really that into world building, so I did like this more than the first one. I was just slightly more intrigued. I liked the characters more this time around. I thought they were kind of a bit more developed, and I also liked there was kind of a found family element, and it was really cute to me, and there was just some really sweet moments. I was more intrigued by the plot this time around as well. It just had me more captivated, but unfortunately I kind of realized a flaw in kind of Mia's entire plan that this book is based around, and from then on I wasn't as invested in the plot. Yeah, so that was a bit unfortunate because it was on its way to a 4-star. Another problem I have with this is I don't feel any danger for like a lot of the characters. Like, I know who he's willing to kill off and who he is not. It's just really obvious to me, to be honest. And then lastly, the thing that annoys me the most about these books is the writing style. I find it so like obnoxious and over the top, and there is so much repetitiveness in this. It the same phrases, the same words, the amount of times this narrator says gentle friends. It's so irritating. And then the last problem I have with the writing style is this is written by a grown man, and it contains a 16-year-old in the first book, 17 in this one, main character. And she is always described very sexually, and she is a minor. I don't care if she's not considered a minor in like this time period. It's still weird. It makes me very uncomfortable. Yeah, I know for a lot of people they're like, oh, it's a historical setting, so it was like that in the times. But that's just not how it works for me. I don't like reading about 16 or 17-year-olds having graphic sex scenes. He couldn't have aged her up 2 years. I don't think it would have made that much a difference to the plot. Like, why did he choose a 16-year-old? Why? He could have made her 18. I still would have been a bit uncomfortable, but not nearly as uncomfortable as I am. I did enjoy a lot of it, and it's just unfortunate that I lost interest as it went on. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this awkward attempt at a video. If you did, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!